Previously on Live, Laugh, Los. We had hand slapping, hand rubbing, and a whole lot more hand slapping.
And at number 5, we have the British pop singer, I believe she's British.
Okay.
Where's Dua Lipa from?
Dua Lipa was born in London, United Kingdom.
Okay, yeah, so London, UK. But like I was saying, Dua Lipa with her new album, Future Nostalgia. Also kind of reminiscent to The Weeknd too. She, like you can probably tell by the title, is able to bring this nostalgic 80s pop sound with, a lot of just modern futuristic sounds as well. The only difference is this is definitely a more
pop-centric album.
For sure. While The Weeknd definitely has more, R&B influence, obviously. But Dua Lipa is able just to bring, those funky bass lines that just make you want to get on your feet with every single song. When the album came out, I was literally dancing around my whole fucking room looking like a dumbass because this literally just the beats were infectious and just fucking amazing. She uses that disco pop to her advantage, creating this like psychedelic escapism, creating a very spacey atmosphere that just I fucking Dua is able to, obviously incorporate themes of love, kind of a given when it comes to this modern pop music, but also just be able to talk about her, femininity. But then also being able to talk about her femininity, her sexuality in a very, empowering way, really, really worked. Like I said, definitely very 80s funky, drums and bass lines, heavy with the limb drums. And yeah, man, like the title says, it's future nostalgia. She's able to incorporate these futuristic sounds with this 80s nostalgia, and it works so well. My favorite 2 songs off this album are probably going to be the singles she released beforehand, Physical, super 80s sounding song, super fucking great.
Who needs to go to sleep when I got you next to me?
And then Good in Bed, man. I love this song. Also one of my favorite songs of the year. It was non-stop when it first came out. Still is heavy in my rotation for sure. Basically just talking about how terrible relationship can be, but it is saved by great sex, which I'm sure we can all relate to.
I know it's really bad, but baby, that's what makes us good in bed. Bad. We drive each other.
Bad. Or we got Westside Gunn, Griselda's own Shady Records. You know the name, and he has come through with another project that is what you would expect from any Griselda project at this time. Not necessarily in a bad way though. Every time I say that, people kind of look at it as a negative. Yes, it isn't a super switch up. It's not anything different or crazy from his material prior to this. But it works, man. Why does he need to change up? Granted, I would do love to see some, innovation coming in the future. But as for now, it's working and I'm loving it. I think this is probably one of his strongest projects that I've heard by him. I'm pretty sure I haven't actually even said the name of the album yet, which is Pray for Paris, which I think is kind of a play on with Jay-Z and Kanye's N-word in Paris.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative. No, it's not. It gets the people going.
Basically just like, this is what we've been praying for. I know he was in Paris when he was writing this, working with Virgil Abloh. So I guess that's where, a lot of braggadocious, a lot of just high fashion that kind of like, we're in Paris, bitch, kind of shit. And man, I just love this album so much. You don't know Westside Gunn, he is a very, kind of
Dark and gritty.
Tonal wise, definitely falls into what people are calling coke rap. Very druggy, cokey, very high fashion, very braggadocious. But he's spitting, man. He's got bars. His voice is infectious, man. I absolutely love it. There's a couple times on the project where he sings and, even if it's not the best singing by any means, I just love it, man. I love almost the imperfection of it at times. Definitely a lot of, sample heavy production. Definitely kind of got an old school feel to it at times. The little boom bap, kind of reminiscent to maybe some of Tyler's old production, kind of. And speaking of Tyler, he makes an appearance on this album, and Tyler is rapping like I have not heard this man rap in a minute. And every feature, I think, kind of pulls through. I don't think there was one feature that didn't really do it for me. On that same song, 327, with Tyler, he has a Joey Badass feature. Phenomenal. I need some more Joey Badass music in my life, and this verse was great. The Wale feature I thought was great. Freddie Gibbs feature I thought was great. This whole album is pretty stacked with features, but not in a way that makes it any lesser for me. I don't think it lessens the quality at all. I think they all enhance the songs that they're on. And like I said, man, Westside Gunn is spitting the whole time. Never a bad bar, really. Never a bad flow. He's just got that in his voice that just makes me want to fucking rail lines and punch somebody. And then, of course, you got tons of Griselda appearances on this, which if you don't know, Griselda is Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher, and Westside Gunn. And man, their chemistry on their tracks are just so good, man. They were able to bounce off each other in such a way that it's just hard to explain, man. If you're a rap fan, you need to be listening to this album. This is my favorite rap album of the year. 2 favorite tracks on this album, really hard to pick. Like I said, I love the whole thing, but probably 327.
Now baby got the face for it.
Hey yo, I rock you no lashes on the runway in my coat fashion. Anybody move?
And then Allah Sent Me.
Hauling that shit, we brought the feeling back.
Yo, always spider with the ceiling back. Addicted after my first pack. Started dealing.
Alright, we are down to the top 3 now. And clocking in at number 3. I feel like I've said clocking in 100 times this video. But for number 3, I have The Strokes with The New Abnormal. And the album did the name justice. It is abnormal, at least for a Strokes project. Strokes is a great band that I've loved. Julian Casablanca, I love. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like a fake fan. I have not listened to their discography super in depth. But I've heard a lot of their music, and I love a lot of their music. I didn't really start listening to them until about a year or 2 ago when my good friend Luke, shout out Luke, who loves them, started playing them a lot around me, and I fell in love. And then when I moved over here to San Antonio, my good friend West, shout out West, also loves the Strokes, so he plays them a lot. And yeah, don't know why, again, I've never really dug into their discography too much, but I've always absolutely fucking loved what I've heard. I think one of my biggest flaws as a music listener is that I'm listening to so much new music that it's hard for me to sit down and listen to old music at times, which is
Super L.
on my part for sure, but it's also super dope because I get to listen to all this fucking great music. But yeah, The Strokes, New Abnormal, definitely a little abnormal from their old stuff. Right away on their first single that they dropped, At the Door, super synth-heavy song, has a super ominous feeling to it, and it just never drops. Doesn't really have any super heavy percussion or anything in it. Doesn't really have guitar, just a lot of, synth keys and just Julian Casablanca's orgasmic fucking voice. And throughout the whole album, they take, different stylistic risks, stuff that isn't maybe as formulaic as the stuff they've done in the past. And this whole thing is just so synth heavy.
You know I'm a synth.
Definitely classic Strokes feeling, but also, like I said, with this new just splash of flavor in there as well. Julian Casablanca's voice, I keep talking about it, but man, it's just fucking crisp as ever. He has this kind of distorted feel to it kind of throughout the whole thing, or at least on some tracks. I want to say that he achieves that effect by singing his vocals through a guitar amp. I would definitely fact check that before you quote me. My friend told me that, so I don't know, but it doesn't sound too far off because his vocals have this crazy filter on it or something that just make it sound so good. The guitar throughout the whole thing is so good. Songwriting is superb. And yeah, I love this album, man. This almost made it to my number 2, but who knows? None of these places even really mean that much. These are just all great albums. At the end of the year, I'll do a more complete, firm list of my top whatever albums. But for now, these are kind of just placeholders. But Strokes album,
fantastic.
2 favorite songs off of this are Selfless and At the Door. I absolutely love.
Anyone home? Have I lost it all? Struck me like a chord.
Number 2, we have Poppy with her album I Disagree. Now, if you don't know who Poppy is, she was kind of a big thing on YouTube. I know I used to see her everywhere. I think she did those videos where she was like staring into the camera. She was like this really fucking weird persona, but she blew up on like YouTube. Then she started making some pop music that wasn't bad, wasn't good, just was kind of there. And then she started having all these drama, falling outs with her manager, her label, I think it was her manager, forget his name, who also had involvement with this other artist, Mars Argo, and there's like identity theft, and it is a whole fucking spiel. You can definitely find a whole YouTube video about it, I'm sure. But yeah, she is no longer working with that manager anymore. And this was definitely kind of like her coming to herself album. At least that's what it felt like. It's definitely way different than any music that I've heard from her, prior to this. I Disagree is basically a combination of
bubblegum pop
and then just fucking like
That heavy metal.
which sounds crazy, and it is, but it works. This album is able to juxtapose those sounds so well together, where if you were to turn off the volume for 20 seconds during the transition, you might even believe it's a whole completely different song, because they're literally just jumps to jumps from sounds, but not in a way that is obnoxious or ruins the progression of the song. If anything, it helps it progress, and it's just phenomenal. I was not expecting this from her. I was not expecting to love this album as much as I did. Her voice is good, nothing crazy special, but man, these songs are just very loud in your face, very experimental, and I just absolutely love it. The way she's able to make those sounds blend together is
completely insane.
the thematic elements in this album kind of range a little bit, definitely. Like I said, very coming to herself, very finding her own. Definitely you could see some lyrics and stuff kind of seem like it's hinting towards her relationship with her manager, her kind of falling out, her kind of building a persona that wasn't really her. It's a very personal album as well, and it's great. Definitely check it out. If you're into weird fucking music, this is right up your alley. My friend described it as
Anime
mixed with heavy metal, which I think is a great description. Two favorite songs off of that album are I Disagree, the title track, and Concrete. And now we get down to number one. That being said, this album, of course, is Catch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple. This album is something special, man. It is a piece of fucking art. Fiona Apple, if you don't know, is a 90s, early 2000s singer. Kind of falls into, like, I guess, the indie alternative, little rockish, little punky in there sometimes. I listened to her growing up a little bit just because of my dad mainly. But again, like a lot of other albums on this is my first full album I've actually listened to her. And it's
Fucking great.
This album is definitely very, very unconventional, very experimental, very kind of non-structured. So again, like I said with some of the previous albums, if you're looking for that very structured or formulaic music, this is definitely not it. There's nothing wrong with formulaic music. Like I said, Lil Uzi made my top 10. But man, Fiona Apple, this album is just, it's amazing. Throughout the whole album, the instrumentals range, from all these guitars and drums, and she's able to create this sound of just kind of just empowerment, and just the fact that she's like overcome so much but still with so much pain in there as well. This is a very personal album for her. Deals with a lot of themes of just femininity, self-image, self-worth. Obviously, got a little love in there as well. Very female friendly album. Talks about just relationships with other women, like on the song Ladies, and just how society and women themselves are also taught to compare themselves with other women and compare other women together. And this whole time she's able to build on these topics with such almost a theatric feel. So I definitely like she's put it on a show. Most of the time I've listened to this album, it has been front to back, just because it feels like that's the way I need to listen to it. It is very much a presentation of her emotions and her feelings. It's a very abstract album, and she's able to encapsulate all these feelings that literally just make me want to cry. I literally teared up the first time I fucking listened to this album. And as unconventional albums go, this definitely might not be for everybody, but it's definitely worth giving a shot. I mean, the instrumentals are great, her vocals are fucking great, the lyrics, the songwriting are literally out of this world. Oh my god, I cannot get over these lyrics. Are just so fucking poetic and just beautiful. It is my favorite album of the year, for sure. This is my favorite album of the year. Two favorite songs off of this album are gonna be Shamika.
Shamika said I had potential. Shamika said I had potential.
Shamika said I had potential. Dun, dun, dun. Shamika said I had potential. And then we're gonna go with Cosmonaut for my second track.
Right, left, right, make lighter all the heavier, cause you and I will be like a couple of cosmonauts.
But again, honestly, if I were to approach this album, I would just start from the front and just run it through and see how you fuck with it. Alright guys, that looks like it'll wrap up my top 10 of 2020 so far video. I hope I wasn't rambling too much. I hope I made sense on all this. But if any of these albums sounded interesting to you, I definitely recommend all of them. I definitely recommend you go and sit down front to back and just listen to these motherfuckers. Even the ones that sounded terrible, just listen to them, man. I'm telling you, there's something great about each of these albums that I think pretty much anyone will be able to appreciate at least some aspects of it. So real quick before I leave, I just want to say there's definitely tons of great music out there, tons of great albums that I did not list. You got Mac Miller, Bad Bunny, Denzel Curry's album, even G Herbo's album's really good, Princess Nokia's album. So like I said, if you want to see me make a full review on any of those albums, any album I didn't touch on today, just let me know. We're in this together. So I think that is it. So just live, laugh, los.
Nope.